Hi, everyone. This is Betsy Wurzel, your host of Chatting with Betsy on Passionate World Talk Radio, where our mantra is to educate, enlighten, and entertain. The views of the guest may not represent those of the host or the station. Please always consult your primary care physician. Folks, as you know, this is the month of June. This is Alzheimer's and Brain Awareness Month. Please take care of your brain health. Consult your primary care doctor if you have any concerns about your memory. It is also Gay Pride Month, and for those in the LGBTQ plus community, if you are a caregiver and you are looking for support, please join my group, #Kick Alzheimer's Ass Movement. Folks, I have a special guest with me today. My guests are always exceptional. One of the reasons why I do my show is because I'm going to provide you, the audience, with resources and people that can help you have a better caregiving journey, help you to have your loved one have a better caregiving journey, and we need to do what we need to do to take care of ourselves. And with me today is Mary Elaine Petrucci. And I'm going to do something different today. I'm going to have Mary Elaine Petrucci talk about herself, to give a little history about herself. Welcome, Mary Elaine Petrucci, to Chatting with Betsy.
Thank you very much, Betsy. I'm honored to be here on your podcast today. I'm Mary Elaine, and I am a speech-language pathologist who has worked with children and adults in schools, long-term care settings, independent assisted living, memory care units in long-term care, as well as home care. And my career changed pretty dramatically when my mother was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and I had to step in and become her advocate 2 days before Christmas. My mother, my attorney and dad's attorney had to go to court 2 days before Christmas so I could start the guardianship process because my father was in denial that my mother had Alzheimer's. And I understand from my own training and working with clients with dementia or Alzheimer's that they really need specialized care, and they also need someone to advocate for them, as Betsy has done for her husband, Matt. I was able to get Mom home where she wanted to be on May 22nd, their 58th wedding anniversary. So I felt that I was a great advocate. She was looking for me to be her advocate, and I really felt honored that I could step in and help her. My life also changed last year where I learned more about some mind-body programs and hypnosis so that I could better care for caregivers in terms of healing their PTSD or their PTSI. So that's me in a nutshell.
Well, that is awesome. And, Mary Elaine, I've had people on talking about, how important power of attorney is to get, but also, like guardianship. And that's a whole nother show. But thank you for sharing that. And also tell us about you have a Facebook group and a podcast.
Yes, I have the Caregiver Lifeline community on Facebook, and people are welcome to join it. I usually have a masterclass on Wednesday from 12 to 1 Mountain Standard Time, and it really talks about several areas. So stress, burnout, financial concerns, lack of support, lack of resources, as well as using my mind-body techniques in terms of boundaries and using communication to best help us help someone else. So those are on Facebook. I also have a LinkedIn Caregiver Lifeline community, as well as a Caregiver Lifeline Academy and personal page on LinkedIn.
And your podcast is, what's the name of your podcast?
My podcast is Caregiver Cast, and I bring on people such as yourself, Betsy, people who have been caregivers in the past or are still caregivers, or I bring in experts in legal, insurance, healthcare, nutrition, exercise, community resources so that caregivers can have the access to some more of the resources that they need on their caregiving journey.
I was a guest, I think it was last year already. Time goes by so fast on Mary Elaine's show. And I listened to the show where you had Marty on. I can't pronounce his last name. But he helped me with Medicare, to navigate Medicare. So, listening to a show helped me tremendously. And this is, Mary Elaine and I share the same passion and of helping people and giving people resources. So I thank you for all that you do, Mary Elaine, to help caregivers and their loved ones with their journey. The hypnotherapy really interests me a lot, but and I want to discuss that because, as you know and I know, self-care is so important in making it through this journey. And I've said this many times, and I'll say it again on my show. Self-care, folks, is not selfish. It's literally a matter of life and death, yours. And if you want to enjoy life during and after caregiving, you need to take care of yourself. I know it's not always easy, but it's a necessity. And Mary Elaine, you have some statistics to talk about, which I find very fascinating, and yet it's scary at the same time.
Thank you for asking. Yes, caregivers, so much assistance. So in a study, they show that up to 35% of caregivers rate their health from fair to poor. 40 to 70% of family caregivers have clinically significant symptoms of depression. And given those statistics about caregivers being stressed, overwhelmed, and burnt out, it really isn't surprising that 30% of caregivers die before the one that they're caring for. And to me, that's really a grim statistic about the toll of how caregiving significantly impacts the health of caregivers, especially since caregivers work alone without support, are exhausted and overwhelmed by their caregiving responsibilities, and stressed by the demands of juggling the needs of their immediate family, work, and the person that they're caring for.
Yes, it is very stressful. And I know me when I was caregiving, I felt like it's very hard to maintain a balance of spending time recharging my batteries and yet not being with Matt, especially near the end of his life. And a lot of caregivers have what I call unjustified guilt. And guilt is an energy drainer, and it will rob you of your joy of living. How do I know that? Because I felt guilty for 1 year after Matt died, and it robbed me of joy and of living. And then I had an epiphany Matt was telling me, I'm fine. You did your best. Now go fly and do what you're supposed to do. And how do you help people, Mary Elaine, with your hypnotherapy and the NLP to get over that emotion, which I know affects many, many caregivers?
Yes. I use different mind-body techniques, like looking at emotions, negative emotions, any limiting beliefs, looking at strategies that no longer serve the caregiver, help them readjust their values in different areas of their life, and to really help them integrate themselves into a whole that they want to be. And the hypnotherapy, especially self-hypnotherapy, is an 8-hour class, and it really helps the caregiver develop a specific suggestion that they can give themselves for 20 minutes twice a day, so that they can be recharged, like you're saying, and doing the self-care that they need, so that they could become more present with the person that they're caring for, that they'll be able to manage different challenging situations that arise, and it will help them really look at the life, like you're saying, that they desire while they're caregiving, so they'll be prepared to take on the next new challenge after the one they care for passes away.
What I seem to get the impression of, Mary Elaine, I really like what you're doing is you're helping the caregiver during caregiving, giving them the tools so that after caregiving, maybe their PTSD, PTSI, maybe they won't have it, or maybe it won't be as severe. Because a lot of people don't talk about after caregiving and what people go through. And caregiver PTSD, SI, is now being recognized, which it wasn't many years ago. And I just think that what you offer is a wonderful tool to help people really make it through the journey intact, mentally, physically. Excuse me.
That is definitely my goal, is to understand, first of all, that every caregiver has stress, overwhelm, and burnout. Every caregiving journey is different because of the people involved and the medical conditions involved. However, it is really my passion to help caregivers while they're caregiving and after, to really focus in on themselves first and heal themselves first so they can better help their loved one. And by doing that, I also started to advocate for caregivers through the National Aging in Place Council on their advocacy committee. And I know recently, about a month ago, the president did enact a family care act so that they can receive more compensation for what they do. I also think that we need to take more into account in terms of their Social Security and retirement benefits, and that is something that the Advocacy Committee from the National Aging in Place Council is focused on doing more of.
Well, that sounds great. Do you mean the benefits of the person who has the Alzheimer's or the dementia, or the caregiver?
The caregiver themselves. With the caregivers that my parents had, were paid probably minimum wage, and that is definitely not enough, especially for people that have dementia or Parkinson's or some other neurological condition where they're unable to really have a voice or speak for themselves. So I'm wanting to mesh my speech-language pathology background and my caregiving experience so that I can make it better for the future caregivers, because we need caregivers to stay and support families such as yours and mine. And the other scary statistic for me is that 76 million more baby boomers will be retiring in 7 years, and that will be 45% of the U.S. workforce, and there will be no one to care for them.
That's true. That's true, Mary Elaine, and scary, because I'm a baby boomer. I'm 65, and I think, that scares me, like aging. I want to age in place. I have a son. I'm still a caregiver to my son who has a cognitive disability. What will happen to him? There's, a lot to think about. Nurses and doctors are retiring. A lot of them are retirement age. Then you throw in the pandemic that burnt them out. And there's a shortage. Folks, I don't mean to scare anyone, but I know there's a severe shortage of doctors and nurses, and it's only going to get worse. Because there's really, who wants to go into medicine or nursing now with the way things are? Very difficult. And not to sound like a Debbie Downer, but that's just the, reality of healthcare now, but that's a whole nother show topic. I really think, in my opinion, Mary Elaine, that me personally, I would rather go to someone who has been through a journey themselves so that they know. Because I find that people who have book knowledge, and maybe they are a professional caregiver, but they didn't go through that journey, it's quite different. When someone's been through the journey of caregiving, I think they're more understanding, they're more compassionate towards the client who's then going through it. And they can relate to them much better than someone who did not go through that journey and just has a book learning. That's my opinion.
Well, I would tend to agree. You really have to, unless you've been a caregiver, people don't understand all of the ups and downs of caregiving and be the one that's responsible for someone else. And I think that is why I want to offer these mind-body programs and hypnosis to caregivers, because I've been there. I know what part of their journey is in terms of the stress, overwhelm, and burnout. I'm willing to listen to the trials that they're having and giving them as many resources as I possibly can. I have a Caregiver Lifeline community membership site, and people are welcome to join on a monthly or yearly basis, and they can join other people who are caregivers, were caregivers. They have access to myself and then the speakers that I've had on my 3 summits. So it's a way to really validate what you're going through as a caregiver.
Yes, and I encourage people, you know what, join as many support groups as you need to for support. I didn't have any support for 14 years between my mother-in-law and my father and Matt all having Alzheimer's. And when I joined Facebook in 2014, Mary Elaine, I went crazy joining all different groups. And, of course, I weeded out, you know, what worked and what didn't work for me. And what I was thinking when I first joined was, and my first thought was, wow, I'm not alone. There's other people going through and feeling the same things as I am. And, of course, I learned, you know, a lot from other caregivers. And I can personally say that with my mother-in-law, there wasn't the support because, well, I didn't have a computer or smartphone, but I don't think Facebook was there in the year 2000. There wasn't much information on the Internet, if there even was the Internet back then. And I didn't handle her hallucinations or sundowning correctly because I didn't know what to expect. And then with Matt, I knew what to expect. I was educated, and it made the journey so much better for the both of us. Actually, I should say the three of us, because I also taught Josh, you know, what to do. And education, which I'm all for, makes such a huge difference in having a better caregiving journey for both the person who's a caregiver and for the one who has the Alzheimer's or other dementia.
Right. To let people know, I did know of the Alzheimer's Association for Mom. I thought my father and I were going to a meeting that would help us with Mom. However, it wasn't the correct forum for us. It was for a different type of dementia. I did find one community group that met for several months. However, you get so wrapped up in providing care for someone that it's a challenge. It was a challenge for me to take the time to reach out and find other resources. So I want to help caregivers kind of wade through all that without having to go through all those programs and go through the Internet when they don't need to. So,
yes. A direct resource. You know, you're a direct contact, a direct resource. And I've found, I mean, I've talked to, you know, many people, as you do also, Mary Elaine, the people who have gone through caregiving are very passionate in their advocacy and for education and to help other caregivers navigate these waters and throw them a rope so they don't drown. And because I drowned, I was drowning when I was a caregiver. There wasn't the information. There wasn't even, as far as I know, I don't even think they had podcasts back then or, you know, different shows. I wish there was people like you on, like me on, and other people. And now there's a whole, there's many shows about, you know, Alzheimer's and caregiving that are great that were not available 20 years ago, even, I'm going to even say 13 and 10 years ago. So I'm glad that there is more resources available now for the caregiver. I really am. It's very important. You know, people think, oh, I got to do it by myself. I got to do it alone. No, you don't have to do it alone. And I'm sure you've encountered this, Mary Elaine, where the caregiver feels guilty because they need help or they have to place their loved one. They think they failed them. You didn't fail them, or they promised. Oh, please don't make promises that you're going to keep your loved one with you, because we don't have a crystal ball. We don't know what's going to happen. Right. And I tell people, don't make that promise, because, you yourself as a caregiver could get sick. Anything could happen. It may not be safe for your loved one. Maybe your loved one needs more care than you could give them, which was what happened with my mother-in-law. Matt didn't want to place his mom, but we had no choice. And it's a very hard decision. My mother went through that with my dad. My dad fell, fractured his hip. She tried to take care of him at home and realized she couldn't do it. I tried to tell her beforehand that it would be very, very difficult, but she had to see for herself. And I think what you have to offer would really benefit people during their journey. And I think, would like what you have to offer, and even that they seek a therapy also would be probably a double benefit to them.
Yes. If they are seeing an outside mental health provider, I could work with them as an adjunct therapy, and I would know who their primary mental health provider is, and they would know about me, so that we're all on the same page, helping the client get through whatever concerns or trauma that they need to have addressed. So, yes, sometimes it takes more than mind-body techniques and hypnosis. It really all depends on the person. If they have a diagnosed mental health issue and they're taking medication, then I definitely need to work with their mental health provider so that I know that they're taking their medications in a timely way and that they are making progress with their other provider. So, again, it's really a two-way street so that everybody is doing the best they can for that particular person or that caregiver.
That is very exciting to me. That is awesome. And I know that mental health is still stigmatized, and it shouldn't be. And that's one thing I'm grateful for the pandemic, is that it brought mental health to the forefront. You hear public service announcements about it. It's okay to go for hypnotherapy. It's okay to be on a medication if you need it. And this being strong is the old school nonsense where people think I got to be strong, I can't cry, I can't fall apart. Let me tell you, folks, I've had many meltdowns during my caregiving, many. And I came back stronger each time. It's okay to cry. It's okay to grieve. And it's okay to talk about your loved one. And we need to, sit with our pain. And we need to face our feelings. And I think what you have to offer, Mary Elaine, it will help people do that, because people, they run away from their feelings. They don't want to validate them. They don't want to face their pain. And you need that. You need to go through the pain to get out on the other side. And sometimes we need help doing that. I know myself personally. I had gotten free grief counseling from a senior center, and I felt that once I got a Medicare, I needed more. So I'm seeing a psychologist, and it has helped me tremendously. And I'm not ashamed to say that. And I'm a huge mental health advocate. And we need to really stop judging people who go for help, because, I say this all the time, too. Don't judge, because you don't know what life has in store for you and what curveball you might get. And you might find yourself needing therapy. So don't judge people because they go for that. Because everyone needs help at some time in their life. And I want to thank you, Mary Elaine, for what you do to help caregivers. Excuse me. We didn't touch on the 3 Keys of Caregiving. Can you touch on that briefly, Mary Elaine?
Sure. For asking. The 3 keys I find that are really critical to caregiving is, first, the organization is the first key of caregiving. It provides a sense of being present more fully with the person that you're caring for. And the caregiver who is organized makes a consistent effort to stay that way can use their time more efficiently and effectively, so that when any mishaps or larger emergencies occur, you already know exactly what to do. And there's 3 organizational strategies I like to offer. One is to maintain a dedicated calendar and maintain your daily, weekly, monthly routines for yourself and the person that you're caring for, and evaluate and update those routines on a regular basis to have the largest impact on the amount of time and effort you spend on the most important to the least important tasks. Also, create a system for medication management. You want to use a medication organizer or a pill box that sorts medication by days of the week or times of the day to make sure that your senior is getting the right medication at the right time. And you want to synchronize the timing of the insurance company authorizations, the pharmacy refill dates, the senior's need for certain medications in your busy schedule. And you also want to start keeping a health journey of your loved one's needs. And by making daily entries of what your loved one did and how they responded to different social or environmental stimuli could ultimately save you time in an emergency. So if an unexpected emergency occurs that requires a transfer of your caregiving duties to someone else, should you be suddenly unable or unavailable to provide care, the new caregiver can learn about your loved one more quickly. Planning is the second key of successful caregiving, and it's really critical that the caregiver be prepared to manage any emergency that may occur. So you want to anticipate your loved one's needs now and in the future. You want to make sure that you know about community and medical resources, about your loved one's care, so that your care team can learn about your loved one's medical condition, find medical or moral support online or in the community, and look for respite care within the community. You also want to anticipate the most likely emergencies that may occur with your loved one. So you want to think through each situation step by step and prepare for each event in advance. And you want to focus on the ones that are most likely to occur. And if any of those scenarios that you go through have happened before, you have a much better idea of what preparations need to be made. I also find it really critical to have an emergency folder or binder available, and it has your loved one's current list of medications, identification and insurance information, contact information for physicians and pharmacies, and any legal, medical, or healthcare documentation that you need, such as advanced directives. So anyone can take that emergency binder and folder and your daily journal of your loved one's participation during the day, and you can have that available should an emergency arise and you have to go to the ER or if you have to go for a doctor's visit. The third self-care is really the most critical of the 3 essential keys to caregiving. And like Betsy had mentioned, seek support from other caregivers. You're not alone. Seek a community of people who are dealing with or have experienced similar scenarios that you need support with. Secondly, you want to accept offers of help and suggest specific things people can do to help you. People do want to help you, and they would like you to be very specific about the help you need, such as you're late, you're waiting for the doctor for a medical appointment, and the doctor's late because of a medical emergency with another patient, and you need to get something at the grocery store, such as the medications or some other food. You can call someone and ask them to pick that up for you and leave it on your doorstep so you have it available when you get home. And like Betsy and myself have been saying, caregiving is hard work. So you want to take respite breaks often. You need to take at least 10 to 15 minutes to really recharge by doing something that you really enjoy doing, whether it's gardening, walking, reading, drinking a cup of coffee, calling a friend or a family member, and making medical or dental appointments for yourself. So those are the reasons, 3 keys to caregiving that I recommend: organization, planning, and self-care. And those 3 keys will help you make your caregiving journey more rewarding because you'll be more present when you're interacting with your loved one and improving theirs and your quality of life.
That is terrific. That is so awesome. Those were golden nuggets, Mary Elaine. Thank you so much. Where can people find you, contact you, and especially with the hypnotherapy?
Yes, they can reach out to me at Mary Elaine at caregiverlifelineacademy.com, or they can go directly to caregiverlifelinecommunity.com and register and book a call with me so I can offer any support that I can for the person in order to help their caregiving journey be more rewarding, and they can see more of the benefit of helping and serving someone else.
That is so true. Thank you. And then they can contact you about your mind and body programs through the sites that you just gave.
Yes, at caregiverlifelineacademy.com.
Okay, great. Well, I want to thank you so much, Mary Elaine Petrucci, for coming on and sharing your information, your wonderful resource, and all the information, folks, about Mary Elaine Petrucci will be in the blog that Jeannie White, his station manager, writes. So please read the blog. Reach out to Mary Elaine. And, you have nothing to lose and all to gain. Sometimes, caregivers, they don't want to spend, the money on themselves. And sometimes you need to spend some money on yourself for better mental health and to to survive this journey. And I just want to encourage people to contact you, Mary Elaine, because it is so important to know of a reliable resource and someone who has walked the journey also. So I want to thank you for coming on today and sharing your valuable information. And I also want to thank Lillian Caldwell, CEO of Passionate World Talk Radio, who makes this all possible. And I want to thank you, the listeners. If you haven't already subscribed to Chatting with Betsy, it is for free on Spotify, Spreaker, and iHeart. And please share the show to help others. That's what I'm here for, is to help other people, let you know about resources such as Mary Elaine Petrucci, and, share this. Maybe you know a caregiver. And let's face it, folks, if you're not already a caregiver, chances are you're going to be someday, or you're going to need one. And I highly recommend, subscribing to my show. And where can people hear your show, Mary Elaine?
Thank you for asking. They can listen to Caregiver Cast on Apple, Spotify, iHeart, and they can also see both audio and video on YouTube.
Excellent. And you know what, folks? I don't know about you, but I'll tell you what. I listen to shows. I want information. I don't have all the answers. And you know what? We need to listen to as many resources that could help us as possible. So take a listen to Mary Elaine's podcast. I did, and like I said, I got help with Medicare. I didn't know anyone in my area in New Jersey, and I was able to get help, and I really appreciate it. So your show, Mary Elaine, helped me with my Medicare and getting a supplement and prescription program because of the guest that you had on your show. So there you go. Excuse me. And as I always say at the end of my show, folks, in a world where you could be anything, to please be kind and shine your light bright, because if we all did that, it would be a much brighter, kinder world. Till we chat again, please take care of yourselves. This is Betsy Wurzel, your host of Chatting with Betsy on Passionate World Talk Radio. Bye-bye now.